Cold.
Welcome to the Lions Den pregame show.
That's the Lions Roar.
Welcome to the Lions Roar pregame show.
Yeah. Welcome to Lions Roar. This is Jim's and my new pregame show. I'm Eric. That's Jim. And we're headed out to McLeod Nature Park. We both work for Hendricks County Parks and Recreation. So we're headed out to McLeod Nature Park to do some parks stuff. And
Official parks business.
Yeah, that's right. Official parks business. So on our way out there, we thought we'd chat about the Indiana Lions. This weekend, on Saturday, we're playing against the Burning River Buckets, who are the other ABA champions besides us. And Jim and I were both out in Missouri when that happened, so we just wanted to kind of share our experience about how that all went down. So, Jim, what do you remember from that trip?
Oh, it was a fun trip. All the teams were very good. I think there was one person that called the Indiana Lions and the Burning River Buckets going to the championship game. And as I said on the last broadcast, that same person I actually called Connecticut for the national championship this last year as well, and everybody thought he was crazy. But look who's laughing now. Not that it got me anything, because I didn't even do a pool last year. Well,
we faced the Atlanta Aliens first and beat them in the quarterfinals. And then we played against the Wyoming Valley Clutch in the semifinals and slipped past them at the very end of the game. That was a physical game.
It was. Both teams were very scrappy, very quick, but they relied too much on getting to the hoop. Not enough outside shooting. They couldn't, just like in football, if you can't run the ball, you got to pass the ball and open up the run game, or vice versa. Well, if you can't get inside the lane, you got to have at least some mid-range shooters, and that's what helped the Lions get through. They played some fantastic defense. It seems like the last 2 or 3 months of the season, they played just off the charts defense and locked it down, and that's what got them through the last, the final 5 minutes of all the games when everybody's trying to make a push at the end.
Yeah. I remember at halftime, coming out of halftime, I think might have been T. Williams, it could have been Eric Messer, who told me that somebody's going to catch an assault charge up in here because the game was so physical. It was just not what we were used to. It was there weren't many fouls being called and bodies flying everywhere.
There was a lot of grabbing.
Yeah,
a lot of grabbing. But yeah, the venue was not something that the Lions were used to as far as crowd.
Yeah.
The Lions generally on a bad day, I don't know, what would their crowd size look like?
Oh, we still have 100, 200 people, and that's on a down day.
Yeah.
There were games where I'm pretty sure Jim and I were the only other people in the stands.
Yep, and you could hear all the shoes squeaking on the floor, and you could hear the refs from the cheap seats calling the fouls and whatever the penalties were.
And I think the Coy family came out, and a couple other fans came out. But it was like playing in a library. It was
Yeah, it was. And then moving on to the championship game.
Ah, yes, the championship game. So we're on our way to the gym. We knew that severe weather was coming, in the general area. And right about the time that we arrived at the gym, I would say it was roughly an hour before game time, and the buckets were getting there too. And suddenly we got the order to go down in the basement of the gym. We find out later on that I think it was 8 EF0 tornadoes hit in the area, including one that was about 3 miles away from the gym. Didn't hit the gym directly, but it hit close. And then, of course, there was the heavy rain and lightning and thunder and all that comes with storms. So we get the all clear after staying down in the basement for quite some time, and go back upstairs to find buckets and towels all over the floor. And not the Burning River buckets, we're talking the plastic buckets to catch water.
Who would have thought that a basketball game would get rained out?
Yeah. And I even joked on the way to the game, as Jim and I were riding together, that, well, at least we know the game won't get rained out. And
first basketball game in history to get rained out, and it happens to be a championship game.
Yeah. So evidently there was no backup plan in place in case there was a problem with the gym for whatever reason, whether it was weather related or power outage or any other number of things that can happen to a structure when you are counting on it. And there were lots of alternative ideas kicked around, and none of them really worked. So ultimately, both teams kind of had to concede to the commissioner's ruling, and that was that the game wasn't going to be played and there would be co-champions.
I can say that could have been one of the most disappointing evenings of quite a few people's lives.
Yes.
A lot of those young men, they had worked all season long, worked their butts off.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come to a championship game where you can show all your goods.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's going to happen, and they cancel the game.
Yeah.
It's like pulling the rug out from underneath somebody.
And both teams were just crushed. I spent some time talking to the Burning River Buckets also. One of their players, Justin Fritz, he's a very good player for them. He intended to retire after that season. And then, he got robbed of his chance to play in a championship. Leon Tillman from our team, he retired and again got robbed of his chance to play a championship game. It was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. And the narrative that the league put out that made it sound like the Buckets and the Lions both said, oh, well, can't play the game, we'll just be co-champions. That could not be further from the truth.
That was kind of a coerced agreement.
Yeah. And it was a sickening feeling. I remember being downstairs when George, the Burning River Buckets owner, and Tyrone, our co-owner, were downstairs talking to both squads at the same time to tell us what the ultimate decision was. And I thought George and Tyrone did a great job.
They did.
Of trying to soften the blow as best they could.
It was just a few people who had their hands in that decision, and it was not easily taken by anybody, but it was accepted out of no other choice.
Other option.
You had no options whatsoever.
Yeah. So I remember looking at Cam while we were downstairs while George and Tyrone were talking to us. I remember looking at Cam and kind of mouthing to him, are you okay with this? And Cam just kind of shrugged and said, what can you do?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
And he later told me, we did everything that we could do to win an ABA championship. And that kind of stuck with me. And I thought that was a good outlook for Cam to have. And hopefully some of the Buckets players ultimately felt that way too. And so we ended up being co-champions. A lot of anger, a lot of tears.
Mostly disappointment, though.
Yeah, crushing disappointment. I would have rather played and lost than end the season.
Well, it's just unfinished business that there's no way to finish it with the two teams that you had. Everybody's a year older. Happy birthday on Sunday to Justin Fritz, by the way. He turns 30.
Yeah.
November 5th. It's what you call a little scouting.
Uh-oh. Look out, Justin.
Yeah.
He's on to you. Justin is back with the Burning River Buckets as a reserve player, and it would not surprise me if he comes this weekend to play, just because of the opponent, us. But it's just not the same. It's KT Taylor isn't on the team anymore. Coach Koenig isn't on their team anymore.
We don't have Leon.
We don't have Leon Tillman. Everybody is now older. It's not the same atmosphere.
Postseason. Some guys might be a little out of shape. It's first game of the year for both teams,
right.
So it's not like you're February ready, March ready.
Yeah. For
the postseason.
Yeah, it's different, but it's going to be a fun game, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a real fun game.
So Contento is back for the Buckets. As I said, Justin Fritz is back as a reserve player, although I would be kind of surprised if I don't see him in the gym on Saturday. Clower is back. They've got some other guys back.
Seaford is also a reserve.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
He spent a lot of time playing ball with Justin Fritz, so I know they know each other very well.
Yep.
If one's playing, I think the other one's going to play.
And I don't know. Outside of the Indiana Lyons, I like the Burning River Buckets a lot. They're probably my second favorite ABA team. I actually watched a lot of their games last season because they have a broadcasting crew that is like us, probably better than us, or at least better than Jim, right?
Yeah.
And and so I'd watched a lot of their games and root for them, and so kind of got familiar with them that way. And then when they played against us, of course they beat us twice in the regular season last year. Their 3-point shooting is just crazy good. So I don't know, Jim, what kind of defense do you put up against something like that?
That's going to be a tough one, because the best way to cover guys who can shoot outside would be a man-to-man. The Lions are more adept at playing a 2-3 zone. I'm more of a fan of a 1-2-2 than a 2-3. Of course, you could almost do something a little strange, and this is way out there, but you could almost do a 3-2 and have two big guys underneath on the defense. That was very unscripted. But have a 3-2 guarding the 3-point shooters, but something's gonna have to be done to keep the ball from going in from 3-point land a lot during this game, I have a feeling. And they're going to have the same problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have plenty of 3-point shooters on our squad as well, so that'll be good.
I think it's going to be raining threes on Saturday.
Yeah. Raining. I get the joke now.
Raining threes. Oh, well, yeah. Okay. Yeah, and the thing about this weekend is rain or shine, this game is going down because our roof don't leak. Yeah, no offense to Jefferson College, but they had roof problems before this championship weekend, and it was the middle of nowhere, and never heard of Jefferson College. I don't know how many people have.
No, I'm not either. But
yeah,
just seemed like in a metropolitan area the size of St. Louis, there could have been another gym that organizers just called up and said, hey, just in case something crazy happens, a power outage in this town or a broken water main or whatever,
Yep.
can we move the whole shebang to your gym?
A high school or a YMCA or,
Right.
I'm sure there would be some people ponying up if there was a rent, if they wanted some kind of rental fee, or you got to have plan B.
Oh,
That's period.
Yeah.
It was almost disgusting how that weekend turned out.
It was, and I'm amazed we were able to talk about it without swearing, because the wounds are still deep, even all these months later. Just robbed. I guess that's the best way I can say it, is robbed. And I mentioned in the broadcast that Coach Koenig and I had some time together after all this went down, and I never forget him over and over saying, "This is not how it's supposed to end."
Yeah.
And I think that was just kind of a great way to sum up what everybody was feeling. And
the lack of preparation for a championship weekend.
Yeah, leaves me speechless.
Yep.
I guess with us being in the parks business, we have to have a backup plan for everything. And so that's just second nature. And I thought with sporting events, that would be second nature.
That would be second nature. Yeah. There had been talk about bringing it back to the Lions Den, playing it the next day, which would have been, we could get back into the Lions Den, or there had to have been a gym somewhere between St. Louis and Indianapolis that we could find and play in. And you don't just cancel the game and call it a tie. It does not happen. It has never happened in the history of sports that I can remember. Yeah. A little, we'll call it disappointed, but that's a very soft word to use for the feelings that everybody feels.
Yeah. So we look forward to Saturday. We look forward to the Buckets coming to town and playing a great game and having a lot of fun, celebrating the championship. Sounds like the ABA commissioners are going to be there. I would assume giving us both our trophies, since they only had one trophy in Missouri, and I don't know what happened with that trophy, but
I believe George did get that trophy.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe the commissioner will just be giving us our trophy, but the locker room, I understand, wants to do a little presentation, and it's going to be a good time. Coach and Mrs. Brown have some really cool gifts for the players to celebrate their championship. So make sure you get to the gym at 3:30 instead of 4, because the little celebration or presentation, whatever you want to call it, is going to start at 4, so that the guys can then get warmed up afterwards and play the game. So after the game Saturday, we play the Louisville Pros on Sunday, and I haven't been able to find anything.
I don't know anything about the Louisville Pros.
About the Louisville Pros. They used to be the Naptown Pros. Before that, they were the South Bend Monarchs. Before that, they were the Indy Show. When they were the Naptown Pros, it seemed like roughly once a season they'd come in and play. I know Tracy Ganow played for the Pros a couple, 2-3 seasons maybe. Jermaine Harris even spent a little time with the Pros after he retired from the Lions. There have been other Lions players coming to and from the Pros, but since they moved to Louisville, I don't know anything about them.
Is this the first year they're in Louisville?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know anything about them. I think everybody's guess is as good as ours. They're not highly ranked.
No.
So hopefully not having a scouting report isn't going to hurt anything.
Yeah.
But we'll see. They've got a new area, which means they got a new group of players they can choose from.
Sure.
Probably have some guys from the old teams, I would imagine, but I don't know how anybody would want to travel from
that's kind of what I was
Indianapolis
wondering.
to Louisville to play home games.
Yeah, because Roger Davis III was another one of our former players who has played for the pros. And, yeah, I was wondering if he was going to be on the team, if we'd get to see him. But I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Can't find the lineup anywhere, so some teams are like that. Fortunately, the Burning River Buckets have got things online. They just don't have heights and weights and alma maters and stuff like that. We got to do a little digging.
Yeah. Which
is done.
Oh, good. But yeah, the Buckets keep their website up real nicely. I like that. And other teams struggle with that. So,
which is something you would think the ABA would want to have uniform.
You would think,
but
you know, if fans have been on the ABA website, that's not a difficult standard to meet.
No, it is not.
But at any rate, you mentioned the power rankings a minute ago, Jim.
Yeah.
I have decided, you know, usually we follow the power rankings, understanding that it's arbitrary. It has in the past
extremely
been, you know, just the commissioner ranking the teams. You know, he doesn't watch them play or consider, you know, which teams beat a good team, which teams beat a bad team, or, you know, any of that. So, you know, we kind of understand that the power rankings are arbitrarily determined. But you know, I decided to save myself the anguish this season. I'm not even going to look. I don't care what we're ranked. I don't care what our opponents are ranked. I just don't want to know. It doesn't mean anything.
No, I briefly looked, but I think it is very arbitrary. There's no reason other than the playoffs last year and what somebody is guessing this year.
Yeah,
that's just a guess. Brand new season, brand new teams. You really can't do a ranking until week 5 or 6 anyway.
Yeah,
but not everybody knows that.
Well, you know, at least in college football, you know, there's a poll that sports writers from across the country participate in. There's a poll that coaches participate in. And so, you know, you kind of feel like those rankings are a little bit more based on something substantial. But
they also don't come out until, what, week 7 or 8?
Yeah,
because you can't. You know, you've got it as a blank slate right now. It's, you know, you're just throwing something against the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah. So, you know, especially in the ABA where so many teams come and go. Well, you know, we've already had teams in our division or region fold.
What, 2 teams already?
Uh-huh.
And the season hasn't even started.
Yeah. And then, you know, we've got another team, the Round Lake Bobcats, have no online presence whatsoever. And, you know, if Pastor Craig hadn't told us that they exist, I would have no idea that they exist.
So we hope when we show up in a few weeks, the doors aren't locked.
Yeah.
Nobody's home.
So in case you're wondering why there's just a little kitten as their mascot on their logo on our graphics, I got nothing else to deal with. I don't know if they're green and white, purple and teal, orange and blue. I don't know what their colors are or what their logo is or anything. So
all we know is that they're going to be black and blue at the end of the game.
So speaking of black and blue, let's talk about Jackson Stone's charge.
Oh, Jackson Stone.
On Sunday.
Beautiful job getting into position for a charge.
Yeah.
4 charges.
Not that we're bitter or anything.
Not bitter or anything. But yeah, we got a little something to talk about.
Yep.
Yeah. I tell you that he did a beautiful job getting into place, getting into position, setting his feet, and taking those charges. And that is something that's going to turn a few games around big time.
Yep.
I used to take a few charges back in the day, and that's probably why I've got some of the problems that I do have.
Yeah. So here's the play coming up that we're talking about, and it's I've called a lot of games for the Lions. This was the first time I have sworn on camera.
Well,
and I did it twice.
You can hear in the
succession.
background, I took my headset off and I yelled to Jackson,
Yep.
way to take a charge.
Yep. So here's what you saw in the game video.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good defense on Donnell. He's sticking with him.
Yeah.
Sticking on him like flypaper, but when that offensive player dips his shoulders.
Oh,
yes,
there we go.
That is a charge. Yes. Nice.
Out of way, Jackson Stone. Stonewall Jackson picks
Yes.
up attracts
Picks
the
up
charge,
track.
whatever you call
Picks
it.
up the charge.
Nicely done by 2-5.
We have talked about the charging, not getting the charging fouls. That was definitely a charge.
Excellent job by Jackson Stone.
Excellent job by Jackson Stone. But once again, we have to have a conference.
Well, naturally.
All right.
We were right on top of that play. Jim and I are. We're
Well,
up in that corner of the gym. We were right on top of that play.
The officials were too. And
What the?
what is... Oh, my. Oh, my. Here we go again. We got the trainee officials in the
Son
game
of
again. That was a... Oh, man.
They're now going to call Jackson for a foul. Baloney. What I was going to say is
Oh,
we were right on top of that play.
Yep.
And Jackson absolutely had his feet set.
Way to take the charge, Jackson.
Oh, damn ridiculous.
Okay. So you've seen the game video now. So understand the way we are set up is Jim and I wear noise canceling headphones with the microphone around the front. So it dampens the noise in the rest of the gym. Predominantly what we hear is the music over the PA system, and occasionally we can hear somebody talking on the PA system, but not always. But we can hear each other, so that's why we wear these headphones. So we're in the northwest corner of the gym when we call the games. My daughter, whether it's Natalie or Gabby shooting in any particular game, and it was Natalie in this particular game, is set up right next to Doc Swift in the center court where Doc Swift is the DJ. She's set up right next to him and shoots the game. So Jim and I can't see what's on the camera. Only Natalie knows what's on the camera until after the game and we see the film. So we're just seeing it with our own eyes, and it's very difficult for us to hear referees making a call on the floor or anything like that.
That's why hand signals are important.
Yes.
For all those wannabe officials, use your hand signals, be clear, enunciate.
Yes.
Because the fans will be... You wonder why officials don't get a good rap? It's because of things, of this particular reason.
Yes.
If they don't understand what you're calling, then you might as well just stay at home.
Yep. So Jim and I knew in advance, leading into the game, that the Lions were going to work on taking charges. So we were keeping an eye out for that throughout the whole game. And Jackson, of course, is a very likely candidate to take a charge.
Because who wants to hit that?
Exactly. Who wants to run into the stone wall?
6'10", 200 some odd pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to come back broken.
That'd be a hard pass for me. So as that play is setting up, Jim and I are both laser focused on Jackson's feet, because that's what we're looking for. Is he going to set his feet and take the charge? And he did. He was planted like a tree. He had moss growing up his legs. He had the family jewels covered. He was ready.
Perfect. It was a perfect setup.
The guy plowed into him. Whistle was called. The baseline referee, or whatever you call her, the lady with the
she's the lead official.
Okay. So she immediately calls charge. Whole gym is going crazy. Oh, it was awesome. And then suddenly Jim and I see the Rebels setting up to shoot free throws, and that's when
we were a little flabbergasted there for a minute.
Yeah.
Because on the play, you have a lead official, which is the one that is supposed to be monitoring the lane and the baseline on that side. You have a trailing official which monitors everything outside of the lane and top of the key all the way to half court, and then you've got a center official which takes care of the weak side, the other side, and that center official is always going to be a center official, no matter which end of the court the ball is on. But when the ball goes the other direction, the lead official becomes the trailing official, and the trailing official is the lead official on the other end of the court. And they generally will flip-flop sides, I don't know how often, I don't think every quarter, but maybe every half. So that you're not the one set on that side all the time.
All right, so the lady who we saw give the charge signal, that was the lead official?
The lead official, and that was her responsibility, was the call in the lane. And that is also outside of the lane. The play happened right at the edge of the blocks, halfway down the lane, so it should have been the lead official's call, not the trailing official. However,
so I'm looking at the game video that night, and I pull out that little clip of the one that y'all just watched, and I'm playing it over and over and over again. I put it in slow motion. I'm trying to see what Jackson did wrong, because you hear me call in the game that the foul was going to be called on Jackson, and I thought he was going to be charged for called for blocking. And so I was trying to see what he did wrong, because I missed it at live speed and I couldn't find anything. And about the 1,000th time I went through that video, I caught Maisha Richmond's voice on the PA system. And I tried to fiddle with the volume, but I think Jim and I are talking at about the same time. And then it dawned on me, the mic on my daughter Natalie's camera. So I pulled up that audio, and this is what was said.
And from that,
so the foul was not on Jackson Stone. It was he did everything right. The foul was over the back on Donnell Jones. And here, Jim, I'll play it in slow motion, and you tell me what you think about this over the back foul.
That is a pretty weak over the back foul, because the guy he has to be in the air for Donnell to be charged with the over the back foul. But the lead official clearly calls a charge. And that is her call. She was overruled by the trailing official. Now the trailing official would have a better view of Donnell coming in for the over the back, but it all happened so quickly. It should have been the lead official's call, regardless of what Donnell did. She called a charge, and of course, since it's an ABA game, after a 20-minute conference and everybody gets cold, then we decided that it's an over-the-back call on Donnell, which was a weak call to begin with, but he was going to hit Jackson regardless. Even if Shavonte had stopped. Shavonte Samuels was the Rebels player who was involved in all this. Even if Shavonte had managed to slam on the brakes before he hit Jackson and put up a shot, Jackson would have swallowed that thing up. Yes, he would have.
There is no way you can shoot around a 6'10" guy with his arms up in the air or waving around or whatever Jackson would have started doing. There's just no way. Now, Donnell did go over Shavonte's back. When the video freezes there, you can see he's over his back. But you're saying it's not a foul unless Shavonte's in the air?
Well,
maybe I don't understand right.
Well, he was shooting, so I guess because of the physics of it, since he was shooting, he was up in the air to get the over the back call because the ball was coming up, which means he was off his feet. He's not a, back in the day they had a set shot where your feet don't leave the floor.
Right.
But his feet had to be off the floor, which means that he was already engaged with Jackson as Donnell was fouling him. At least that's my take on the game.
Okay.
And, granted, all this officiating is a very subjective.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's boom, boom, boom. There's not a whole lot of time to think.
Sure.
That's why we regularly have 20-minute conferences that break up the game and make them last 2.5 hours as opposed to the hour and a half that they should be.
And we knew that this crew was training. The total crew was 6, and they were kind of rotating in and out as we went along. So the block or the charge was called correctly. Donnell did get over Shavante's back. You can see now that once I figured out who the foul was actually called on, you can see in the slow motion, as soon as they hit the ground, Shavante is pointing at Donnell and, trying to plead his case that something happened, like he got pushed into Jackson or something like that. So it was more complex than what Jim and I saw and heard at the time. So didn't help that we thought the foul was called against Jackson for what we assumed was a block.
Well, and it doesn't help when you've got 2 different officials making 2 different calls.
Right.
And the one who should have the call is not the one talking to the scorer's table either.
Right. And I don't know about you, but I was so focused on Jackson's feet on that play. Donnell could have been on fire, and I wouldn't have.
I was too. I didn't even realize Donnell was there. Well, he's a lot smaller, so he was kind of buried behind the action with Jackson and another fellow from Chicago,
Shavante. Yeah.
Shavante, yeah. But they get some of them right, and some of them they don't get right. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and
it's a ball game.
Yeah, I mean, we're the only ones who get it all right all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, Lions Pride. We will see you Saturday in the Lions Den. Get there at 3:30. The ceremony with the rings and the trophies is at 4, and then Sunday, come back to the Lions Den. Doors open at 3, tip off at 4 as we play the Louisville Pros. I'm Eric, that's Jim, and we'll see you next week.